This is my Proflex 856 World Cup full suspension mountain bike. I bought this bike back in 1996 and I've ridden it all over the western states. It's been a great bike, but I don't ride radical trails anymore. In fact, I don't even ride single track anymore. So this has been hanging on the rack for quite a few years. But I got a new radical idea. I'm going to build this into a hybrid cruiser e-bike. I want a comfortable electric bike I can ride around town, and I think this is the perfect foundation to build on. I'm ready to get to work here. Now, I've done plenty of bike wrenching, but this is my first venture into building an electric bike. So I have all these things to install on the bike. I'm going to install new tires, nice city tires, smooth rolling. I've got a new seat, nice comfy fat bottom seat for me to sit on. I bought some riser handlebars and a new stem so I can sit more upright, new pedals, a goat leg kickstand, and the rest of what's here is all part of the mid-drive motor kit. It is a Bafang BBS02 48 volt 750 watt kit. I selected a 17.5 amp hour battery, and the battery came with a charger and an all-weather rain hood that you can put over it. The items I selected to go with the mid-drive motor is a 44 tooth chainring and a C500 computer display. The standard items that are part of the kit are a new set of cranks, new brake levers with the electronic sensors in them, a thumb throttle, a headlight, some various hardware and wires, and a couple of tools, which, I don't know, I've got my own bike tools already, but maybe we'll make use of those, and a little pair of gloves. First, I had to strip everything off the frame. Some of these components took a little effort to remove because none of these screws had been loosed in quite a few years. Both the handlebar stem and bottom bracket proved particularly stubborn. Here's the Proflex frame after everything has been stripped off. I did leave my front and rear V-brakes on here because I'm reusing those. And I left the rear derailleur on because that'll be reused. This is just a pull string I pulled through the frame when I removed the old shift cable. It's an interesting cable routing in that it goes through the frame. So my first order of business is to get this mid-drive motor mounted. And I'll start just by inserting that and letting that hang there. Then there's this retaining collar, I guess you would call it. There's a little toothed surface that goes towards the bike. And then there are a pair of socket head screws that thread into the motor housing. Before tightening those all the way, there is a collar that threads on to the hub. And I'm going to pivot the motor up to running position, and then they provide the tool that fits this collar. I'm going to snug that up pretty good. Then there is a second lock nut, which the opposite side of this tool will secure. Then I can do the final tightening on the socket head screws. Next, I'm going to mount my 48 volt battery pack. It has to fit in the frame here, and this has a integral mount that the pack snaps onto. And I've already looked at this a bit. It's designed with mounting holes that'll fit your bottle rack screws. Unfortunately, if I use those, it doesn't align in the frame. I don't have enough room to get this into the frame. So I need to back this down this way and put it right about here. That'll allow me to use one bottle rack screw here. The other one misses, and I think I can drill a hole through the plastic mounting bracket here that I can put that screw through. But then I don't want this just hanging out in the air with nothing to secure that. I don't like that. So I've got a custom solution for that. Here's how I've customized the battery holder. This metal bracket will mount here with one screw from the bottle rack. The second screw missed because of my alignment, but I have drilled the housing right here to align with that second bottle rack screw. Now, I didn't like this just being loose, flapping in the breeze up here. So I have manufactured a custom band clamp, bending this shape, which will fit into the slot on the battery mount that was for a bottle rack, and using a nail as a pin to keep that from popping out. I can then clamp this around the tube and everything will stay in place. Okay, let's see how this is going to go together here. Now I have a screw, I bought a screw with a flatter head so that it wouldn't stick up and interfere with the electrical connection that has to plug together there on the battery. Trying to work this in a way that the camera has a view and my hands aren't blocking everything. The band clamp I'll put in before I tighten that all the way. Now I put a little piece of rubber here. I just cut a piece of inner tube. I just thought that would be better than putting the clamp right against my frame. Let's get this in place here. Insert my little pin. Replace the housing screws. And we will test fit the battery. I have the battery mounted. It feels quite secure. This band clamp idea worked quite well. Peel off this little protective cover. And time to mount the chainring. They provide socket head screws. And then there's a chain guard, which mounts with these little flathead screws through the back of the chainring. It's easier to do this from the side. I can see the hole. Okay. I've already mounted my new tires on the rims and I'm ready to put my wheel back on. My cassette here is an 8-speed cassette, the original cassette. It's most likely overkill. I'll probably change this out, but I have got to get the bike together and test it and see what gear ratios I like. To put the wheel back on, I am going to reverse the skewer, meaning I am taking the skewer out and I'm putting the clamp lever on the cassette side, because my new kickstand, the dogleg kickstand, replaces the skewer nut, and I want the kickstand away from my derailleur on the other side of the bike. So I know this is a little unusual. Typically you don't put the clamp lever at the derailleur, but this is what we're going to do so that we can have our kickstand work. Now, I had to do some modification on this kickstand, and I think it's going to work fine, but it took a little effort. Yeah, that should be fine. Good. Mounting the cranks is pretty straightforward. I do have to get the right one. This is the right side. The other is marked left side. It's because the threads for the pedals, they have to go on the proper side of the bike or the pedals will unscrew as you pedal. Now if you have a torque wrench, you can probably torque these to around, I don't know, 35 to 40 foot-pounds. I don't have one, so we're just going to go yay and call it good. Don't want to overdo it. And then my new pedals. These are pretty nifty. I got folding pedals. For storage, I figure every little inch of space is valuable. And I'll put my chain back on. Now, this is my old chain. I might need to replace it. I'm not sure that it's the right length because I have changed chain rings up there. I've added 2 teeth, going to a 44 tooth from a 42 tooth. So this might not be quite long enough, but again, it depends. If I change my rear sprockets, I might, have plenty of chain length. We'll see. We have to try this all out first. This is a chain with the locking chain length that is really nice because you can easily put it together and take it apart. Here we go. Okay, new stem. Shortening up my reach, raising up a little bit. I have to leave this a little loose because everything will need adjustment. And new riser handlebars. I picked these out. I thought they were pretty cool. And I wanted to keep a narrow width on my bars. So this looked like a good choice. And again, I'm just going to leave this loose until I can do angle adjustments. I'll have to get my seat on and put this on the ground and kind of find the position where I want the handlebars when I'm sitting on the bike. Now I can mount all my controls here. The C500 controller, or display I guess you call it. I'm going to put it over here on the left-hand side. New brake lever. Now again, these brake levers have sensors in them which will connect to the mid-frame motor and deactivate the motor when the brake is activated. Every single one of these items has a different size socket head. I've decided to put the brake lever, Then the thumb throttle. I'm going to put that inside the brake lever. I've seen setups with it on the outside here. I want it on the inside because my twist shift is pretty broad, and to reach from here to the thumb lever is more convenient than to try to go way beyond the brake lever. Now, I discovered something I didn't anticipate when I bought these handlebars. The remainder of the bar sticking out here is quite short. It's shorter than my twist grip. So I have an option to cut my grip down, which would put my hand here, and I'd have a lot of finger on this twist shifter all the time. Or what I decided to do was turn an extension that I can drive into the end of the tube and extend that handlebar just enough so that it'll support the grip. All right, cable routings. This is a little tricky. This is a shift sensor. It's going to plug in to the system, and its purpose is to sense shifting and deactivate the motor when that happens. I have a limited space to fit all these things. This needs to fit on a straight point in the cable. The only place I could find was right here. Because of this suspension system and the swing arm having to move, I'm concerned a little bit about this because the flexing of this whole system might put some stress on this little device. This is just a plastic housing, but we're going to do this. We have to feed the shift cable through the whole system. And it's going to all go through there. And I have to kind of fit my brake housing at the same time because there's limited space under here. They all kind of pinch on each other. But if I fit this that way, then what I'm thinking is I'll be able to use a zip tie and secure this right here at this point. Hopefully that will, take the stress, because this housing, this cable housing is going to flex when this whole suspension system moves. This is why I put the pull string through. This shift cable runs through this swing arm, and I just need to guide it through like that. That's easy enough. Now, I am using the remnants of a cable housing system that was called the Gore Ride-On cable housings, and they were a system that's no longer manufactured, but they have a double sleeve with an inner, like a Teflon coating sleeve that goes inside of all this. It sealed the cable really well and prevented dirt and moisture and debris and rust and stuff like that from occurring. But like I said, it's no longer made. I'm using it just in this section down here because this cable, this shift cable, runs through here, and this is a bent swing arm which would cause the cable to rub. Yeah, all right. This is going to work just fine. Looks like everything's going to align. I have a little seal that goes on the end here. There we go. And that has to clamp into my derailleur there. I'm working out my wire routing. All the wires go into the bottom of the motor. And so what I've decided to do is bring them back around the back side of the crank, coming up this direction. And there's a lot of extra wire. You know, everything's pre-sized. So I took this battery mount off, leaving the electrical connector section. And what I'm going to do is cut these and solder my connectors together. They provide you 2 pigtails to attach, but it's way too much length. So I'm going to cut these, solder the connectors in, and then I'll be able to bury the connector in here when I put that cover on and get rid of any extra wire. The controller wire that goes to the brakes and the display, I will route along the tube here, connect this together, and up to the handlebars that way. The wire for the light will run down along here and plug in the bottom. I have the wire for the speed sensor, which we'll have to route up and connect on the swing arm back here. And then lastly, which you can't see from this angle, but this wire will connect to my shift sensor on the opposite side. I have decided to mount my speed sensor on the left side of the bicycle, back here on this swing arm. That stays away from the chain and all the gear operation, and I can route this wire up this way and kind of keep it out of the way of everything. Now I've spent a lot of time figuring out my cable routings as I went along here because I want this to look like a really neat, clean installation. Some of the pictures and videos I've seen of other builds have big wads of wire just zip tied up, and I want this to be really, 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 really nice. So I know where I'm running my wires, and I have purchased this wire wrap. It's like a slinky kind of thing that winds around wires to bundle them together. So you can bring a pair of wires or more together and wrap this stuff around them, and it just holds everything very neatly. So I'm going to work on that and get everything in position. This is the completed bike. I've been out riding it a bit, getting all the components adjusted. It runs great. I'll post a video with a full performance review once I've ridden enough miles to have a good feel for its operation. But at this point, suffice it to say that it is outperforming my expectations.